But if somebody comes knocking on my door and is like, hey, Dan, I'm going to pay you $150 million for your business right now. Like, I might fucking sell it. I might sell it tomorrow if somebody knocks on my door and says that. I don't fucking know. And then I wanted to talk about actually something that I saw with Dan Pena today. I don't remember the post. So I get a lot of people saying like, oh, Dan, you remind me of a younger Dan Pena. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't actually know who this guy was. He's a lot older, actually. And then, I come to realize that he actually he's a little bit more extreme than I make out that I am, but I probably am just as extreme as he is.
Connor, throw a clip of him just like screaming something.
Yeah.
Hey, he shouldn't say like he can't just put out like that.
That is it. Get the fuck out. Mic fucking drop. The clip was about why you shouldn't be paying for expenses out of your company. So this is something that I don't actually do. Okay. And I'm going to give you 2 reasons why I don't, expense a lot of shit out of the company.
He's referring to probably a lot of like personal stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So obviously like company expenses.
Yeah. No. That's what I mean. Yeah. So what I mean is expensing personal things that arguably shouldn't be expensed to the company, but you're making an argument because, it's a dinner out or it's, hey, I'm going to expense this lease payment for my personal car or, I'm going to expense this vacations or I can't remember exactly what he gave an example of something like that. But there's 2 reasons why I don't do that. Number 1, I want to reinvest everything back into the company. Yeah. That's really important for me. Okay. And number 2, actually, before I even go on to number 2, the reason why I want to reinvest everything into the company is because I want to scale as fast as possible. Okay. So I'm actually okay sacrificing a higher income or these small advantages in the grand scheme of things for a massive windfall in the future. Okay. And number 2 is exactly for that same reason of the massive windfall down, in the future. Because I want to show as much fucking income in the company as possible.
Right.
And a lot of people don't see that as an advantage to a new buyer coming in because what that new buyer will see, and I've been on the receiving end of this, right? We've seen a couple times when these guys have massive personal incomes, they're writing off like ridiculous shit. And then they have to come back to us and say, oh, by the way, it's actually this amount of income in the company because I take X out of the company personally. And then you're like, so I'm supposed to just believe you because it doesn't show on the books. That's what the case is. And I'm supposed to just trust you.
Yeah.
How is that going to work? And you know what I actually see this a lot in is real estate. I see this all the fucking time in properties that I go to vet and that I go to run analytics on. And then when the numbers aren't coming back as good as what, the cap rate that these guys are saying is, they'll come back to me and say, oh, well, you need to factor this in. You need to factor this in.
So they've been kind of like taking cash off the books for
themselves. Or they're paying themselves a management fee or whatever the case. And I don't know. I don't know any better. Yeah. How am I supposed to know that we actually don't need that extra management? The building may very well need that extra management. The building may need, X amount of dollars in whatever that person's taking out of the business. Or it might be justified, but they're trying to get the NOI up for a higher sale price. I see that shit all the time. So I would advise people, I don't even write off my dinners. Like everybody, I've been out to dinner so many times with people that are like, oh, I'm just going to like expense it. And I see the card come through. It's a business card or whatever. Unless it's an actual real business dinner, I would advise like you expense only business related shit. Yeah. Because you want the NOI of your business or the EBITDA of your business to be as fucking high as possible. Especially if you're not in a business that is valued based off of a multiplier of the revenue. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If it actually requires, a multiplier of EBITDA or NOI, yeah. You're fucking yourself.
Yeah. Now that's applicable to if your goal was to maximize the value of whatever company you run. But what if somebody's goal is to just have their business funding their life? I know it sounds stupid and you don't agree with it.
No, I hear what you're saying.
If somebody's working as a as a contractor, for example, and they never plan on selling their contracting business.
How do you know that though? That's my point. Like at the end of the day, like you don't know that, and you're leaving yourself open to a liability, a big missed opportunity.
Yeah,
you really are, because right now, I have no interest in selling Canadian protein, right? But in 5 years, if somebody comes knocking on our door, okay, the business is valued at $100 million, arguably, maybe even more, depending on the multiplier that somebody feels is justified. But if somebody comes knocking on my door and is like, hey, Dan, I'm going to pay you $150 million for your business right now, like, I might fucking sell it. I might sell it tomorrow if somebody knocks on my door and says that. Yeah. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
But if I fucked with the books for my personal, short-term gain,
and I think
that number might actually be like, if I'm getting a 15 times multiplier for every single dollar that the business brings in, like, think about that. So back out 15, not even 15 times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Think about how much think about the opportunity cost of that is. It's not worth it. It's just not. Right? If anything, pay yourself more like on the books as, a salary or an executive or whatever. Do that. Don't write off dumb shit.
Yeah.
But then again, this is where it goes into our the point number one, right? If you're going to do that, now you might be restricting your business's ability to scale.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I really don't take much from this business, because I know, and that's why I actually pay myself mostly through the real estate, because, there's only so much that the real estate's worth what it is. It's brick and mortar and it's land, right?
Yeah.
Even if I use that, it doesn't matter. That's what the business is going to be going for, right? It's what the property is worth and what the income is. So it's not necessarily.
And also, like, per dollar reinvested into real estate, there's only so much value you can get out of that, right? Like, if you take those duplexes we were talking about earlier, if you were to go reinvest $10 million into these duplexes, like, what would be that return on the investment versus taking $10 million and putting it into Canadian protein?
It's huge.
Your return on it is just like,
it's astro-fucking-nomical.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and again, I'm not saying that, in a portfolio, if you were to sell off the entire portfolio, that they're not going to be taking NOI, because if you draw down NOI for your personal expenses, obviously that does affect it. That's what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is my real estate portfolio doesn't run the opportunity cost of me doing that with respect to my real estate portfolio isn't nearly as great as if I were to do that with, the nutritional company, Canadian protein, stuff like that. The opportunity cost of doing that is fucking substantial. If I do that, if I act that way in this company. That's why I really don't take anything. To be honest with you, and you know this, I actually take quite a bit less than what shows on the books for what the accountants are saying I actually make.
Right.
I actually take half. I actually take in half of what I'm supposed to be taking, to the point where the company actually owes me a substantial amount of money.
Yeah.
So that's what I would advise.